50 million Kenya shillings. That is the amount of money that the court thought would be a fair amount to give to Rigathi Gachagua after him not getting a fair trial at the Senate.
50 million needs to be paid to the impeached deputy president, Mr. Speaker. I would request Senator Sifuna Edwin Watenya to be the chief guest so that we can raise that 50 million.
And somehow, the leadership of this country, headed by William Samoei Ruto, thought that that story of impeachment is over now. They thought that Gachagua would now be just finished. They thought that Gachagua will just take the 50 mic and be very happy about it.
You know, we are not here for the money. It is not about the money. It is not about the money.
After his supporters had gotten such bad news from the courts.
Ikiwa kuna inchi huwezi tamani kukua, especially wakati wa kasungu, ni hapa Kenya.
After the rivals of Rigathi Gachagua were now celebrating.
50 million simbaya. 50 million chukua bana jono ufunike macho seme alhamdulillah.
State House thought 50 mic? Yeah, 50 mic will do it. They thought 50 mic was enough to close this chapter once and for all.
The court awards constitutional damages of Kenya shillings 50 million to His Excellency Gachagua payable by the Senate.
This makes me believe that William Samoei Ruto and his minion judges do not even know this man. They do not know who is Rigathi Gachagua.
William Ruto knows Rigathi Gachagua is a man to send him home. And those around him are terrified of my candidature.
What was supposed to be an end of Rigathi Gachagua's political career yesterday has officially given him an even bigger platform to build on. Because in politics, nothing sells like an underdog. And right now, Gachagua looks exactly like one.
We may not like Rigathi Gachagua, but we cannot butcher the constitution in the manner the three-judge bench did today.
Gachagua has looked at the money, 50 million, and he said, no, I'm not taking this 50 million of your blood money.
The 50 million Kenya shillings awarded to me is an insult to my fundamental rights and freedoms and a mockery of the Constitution. We are not interested.
Instead, he's decided to pull one of the greatest comebacks in modern day political scene in Kenya. Let's talk about it. If you love this kind of content, go ahead and like this video and subscribe. Now let's get to the video.
And they have no shame saying that Honorable Gachagua's right to be heard was the president.
This is where we as the lawyers got shocked.
Nimeona Miguna akiongea, nimeona Abnasira akiongea, nimeona Korira akiongea, nimeona very many lawyers wakipeana their input and they are not happy with the decision. And many of them are terming it as a predetermined judgment.
Because all the times when the court makes such a finding, right to fair hearing has been substantially violated, right. The consequence, the inevitable, inexorable consequence is you invalidate the proceedings.
You see, yesterday was supposed to bring clarity. Instead, it raised even more questions. The court upheld the impeachment. That was actually the headline.
We are heartbroken, disheartened, and as the people of the mountain, we are inconsolable.
The details told a very different story. The judges acknowledged that Gachagua was actually denied a fair hearing. For many Kenyans, that single statement changed everything because fairness is the foundation of justice. You remember that line in our national anthem? May justice be our defender? Yes. So without fairness, what exactly are we defending? That is the question that many people are asking today.
My take home from yesterday's ruling, kwa mambo impeachment ya Gachagua, was that our judge walikuwa so obsessed with protecting Kindiki.
In this matter, the judges were politicians. They were not 100% judges.
If you ask anyone in Kenya, yesterday was not a normal Monday. The reading itself took very long. Very long.
Hamta tuchokesha by the way. Hamta tuchokesha, mtuambie tu kama ilikuwa legal ama haikuwa legal. Tujue. Hey, jameni.
Many people started watching it around midday. Some were still listening to it late into the night.
6:40 p.m. Bado judgment ijaisha na mlianza kusoma 12.
Hour after hour, argument after argument, the judges went through every detail of that case: public participation, parliamentary procedures, constitutional questions, everything. Then, after all that,
the court then makes a finding towards the end of the judgment that the right to fair hearing has been violated.
He had not received a fair hearing. That single finding became the biggest talking point, not only on social media, but even in real life stories.
Mimi ile kitu nimeshangaa na hii koti na hii ruling yao ya leo. Wameagree with Gachagua that his rights were violated at the Senate. He was not accorded a fair hearing.
The right to fair trial is a constitutional right that is not negotiable. Not negotiable. You can't deny a human being.
So here's where the confusion begins. If the process was actually unfair, why does the impeachment still stand? That is the question that is dominating every public debate.
Even in the process of impeachment, the Senate had 9 grounds for impeachment.
Yes.
And they say 1 is enough.
Yes.
They can say no to 8. There were
Yes.
11 actually.
Yes.
They can say no to all the others, but 1 is enough.
Yes.
Are you saying this 1
Yes.
is strong enough to actually have, if they consistently went with their reasoning,
Yes.
that Rigathi Gachagua did not get his constitutional right to fair trial,
Yes.
that should have been sufficient ground,
Yes.
or would have been sufficient ground,
Yes.
to actually dismiss his impeachment?
Exactly.
They pose a justification and they say that were they to find that the effect of Rigathi Gachagua not being heard would undo or quash the entire process of the impeachment, then we would end up with 2 deputy presidents.
Remember, Gachagua was not asking to be returned as the deputy president of this country. That was never his main objective.
Hawajui Rigathi Gachagua alikuwa ashasema yeye hana haja ya kurudi kwa ofisi, hana haja ya kudeputize William Ruto tena.
He wanted the impeachment to remove the label of him being impeached. He wanted his political rights restored. He wanted compensation for the damages that were actually caused by that very impeachment. So when the court said that reinstatement would actually create constitutional complications, many people felt that the argument was actually missing the point entirely.
When it goes to the rule of natural justice, the court has no free hand. Once the court found that the right to fair hearing had been violated, the court had no option but to undo the effect of that impeachment. But what the court essentially did today, the court said, we do not want to contemplate a country with 2 deputy presidents.
The judge goes to pronounce that he is unable to release the prisoner because, in his absence, his wife was married by another man. And if he releases that man to go back home, there will be a crisis in the village because there will be 2 husbands. And then he tells the prisoner, let me look for some little money to give you, continue staying in prison so that the men who took your wife can continue enjoying in your matrimonial home.
The right to fair trial was denied Rigathi Gachagua at the Senate when it was conducting a trial. To that extent, nothing else stands.
So ironically, yesterday may have actually strengthened him than anything before. Not legally, but politically. Because if you think about it, the court says that he was treated unfairly. The impeachment remains. Now he can officially present himself as the victim of the system. And whether you support him or not, that narrative is actually very powerful. Because people naturally sympathize with the underdog. We've said this before. Especially one who keeps fighting. And you know he's going to keep fighting.
Money was never the issue here. Justice and constitutional supremacy was. I am one Kenyan leader who will not and cannot be swayed by promises of money to allow violation of the constitution.
Then there is the 50 million Kenya shillings, the compensation awarded by the court to Rigathi Gachagua.
If I was interested in money, Mr. William Ruto had offered me 2 billion Kenya shillings in an effort to entice me avoid impeachment. No offer, no amount of money can stand between me, my rights, and the rights of the citizens of Kenya under the Constitution.
Many people are asking one very simple question. If he was wronged enough to deserve the compensation, Why was he not wronged enough to overturn the impeachment? The contradiction is difficult to ignore.
Yesterday, a free judge bench gave two decisions in one. It is a mongrel of a judgment. But they shot themselves on the foot when they also confirmed that Gachagua's being denied a chance to be heard violated the constitutional provisions.
So where do we go from here? This is where it gets very, very interesting. The battle is not over, not even close. The next stop is actually the Court of Appeal.
I will be vindicated by the Court of Appeal, hopefully, once again, with a further protection at the Supreme Court still in my hand.
And Gachagua enters that stage carrying something very, very important, a judgment that admits that he was actually denied fairness.
And once the whole impeachment process collapses.
That finding alone gives his lawyers something to work with.
So what would be your grounds of appeal? What are your grounds for
I
appeal?
cannot discuss that, of course, because we have already filed a notice. And
So yesterday I made a video that said Gachagua wins no matter what. And this is where people believe that actually yesterday's ruling backfired because the government wanted closure. Instead, the story gets another chapter. The government wanted him weakened. Instead, he remains the biggest topic in politics. Look around you today. Everyone is actually talking about Gachagua. Everywhere you go in this country, it is Gachagua this or Gachagua that. And that attention is actually power. The more people talk about you, the more politically relevant you become.
I wish to confirm to my supporters across the country that I'm eligible to vie as a presidential candidate, and I'll be on the ballot on the 10th of August 2027.
So let us ask the question, did Gachagua lose that case yesterday? Legally, yes. Politically, it's a hard no. Because the ruling gave him something very, very valuable. A new fight, a new platform, a new reason to rally supporters, and most importantly, a new opportunity to portray himself as the man being targeted by the powerful forces.
This is a desperate and false propaganda by those terrified of my candidature. William Ruto knows Rigathi Gachagua is the man to send him home. And those around him are terrified of my candidature. That is why we had this very, very embarrassing judgment yesterday.
That story is far from over. In fact, it is just the beginning. Because if there's one thing that Rigathi Gachagua has actually mastered over the time, it is turning bad news into political momentum. And yesterday, just loaded his political machine gun.
This judgment is good. It makes the work of the Court of Appeal very simple, extremely simple, and clear and straightforward.
You better be ready, and you better subscribe.